Today I'm answering your questions in our Q&A to start the beginning, relatively speaking, of the year. So a bunch of questions, really good ones were submitted, so we're going to jump right into those, and hopefully I don't offend too many people with my answers, so let's get right into it. Welcome to the most passionate content for card collectors on YouTube and possibly the whole entire internet. As usual, I am your host, Jake Roy. 90s B-Ball Cards here on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, occasionally some Twitter. You know the deal on TikTok, and Threads is chilling there. No changes to those stories in the new year, not yet anyway. Alright, so we've got a Q&A. Got about 15 or so questions. Some of them are kind of multi-part questions, so we'll see how much we get through. So I'm going to jump right into those. No further ado needed, and let's get right into the first one. Alright, trying a little different camera angle here, so let's get right into the first one. So the first one we have here is from YouTube, so this is Big Pop Q. Anyway, it says, what is the best card that you've pulled? So, I've had a lot of great hits, busted a lot of whacks. So I would say probably the top one that I can remember was the 98.99 Topps box. So we opened one of the first boxes we ever opened in the channel. We got the round ball royalty refractor of Michael Jordan. So opening that with my brother, got a lot of great memories. Unfortunately, we opened it off camera, so go back and take a look at that video if you haven't already. It's a little bit of a time capsule. And then very close to that would also be the 99 2000 Skybox Star Rubies rookie of Baron Davis, which I've showed on the channel. Obviously some paper loss on that card. It's not in the greatest shape, but again, the memories, pulling it, PC, all of that definitely add to that one. So I would say those two are top that I can remember off the top of my head. There could be some others that I'm not remembering. There have been a lot of really good hits, so those are just the first that came to mind. The next one here from QCoach ITB Jeff on Instagram. We've got best redemption story and ideas for making the redemption process better. How's that? Alright, so my best redemption story, and I don't have many, would really be with the 99 2000 Hoops build your own cards. I love those. They were a lot of fun, having those 3 fronts, 3 backs that you could choose from. And I've still got the Iverson that I sent away. There were a number that I sent away for, but the Iverson was really the big one. I've got it with the original paperwork that it came in for the packaging list and the original top loader, which is not the greatest protection for the card, but again, it's the nostalgia and it's PC. So those were my best, all of those, but that Iverson really stands out. But those are probably my only redemption stories also. So ideas on fixing the process. I don't know a lot of the nitty gritty that goes into it. So to say that I can fix the process or I know the way to do it would be disingenuous to say the least. But some of the things that I would do is, first of all, I would get rid of expiration dates, and I would probably have some sort of an agreement with the athletes that would kind of guarantee stuff, or make sure that I'm going to, give something to collectors, even if you open something that you get a redemption way past the date. But ideally for me, I would rather not have redemptions in products and just pack out the stuff. But again, I know that logistically that's a little bit easier said than done. So those would be the two things that I would like to see done, but I don't have any real quick good fixes. Alright, the next one here from YouTube, Blake Christensen 450. What was your favorite memory going to an NBA game as a kid? So as a kid, there's really only one. I mean, there was one that I went to when I was, call me a teenager, but so I didn't go to a lot of games when I was younger. But the first one that I went to was a Boston home game. So the Celtics were playing host to the Sacramento Kings. Both teams were in the doldrums at the time, which is really the complete opposite of how it is today. But yeah, those were my favorite memories, and because neither teams were really that much to watch. There was a lot more to watch kind of going around the stadium. Some of the vendors or hawkers, as they were called, that would run up and down the stairs trying to sell their products, which is kind of a relic of the past. I don't see that much, if at all, anymore in the stadium. So those were fun things to see. Watching Mitch Richmond was unbelievable. He was incredible. Antoine Walker was, a big star for the Celtics. So watching those two guys on their respective teams, but I remember Mitch Richmond really stood out among all the players on the court. So those are some of my favorite memories because it was the only game that I went to as a kid. Instagram Stacking Slabs Brett asks, what are your favorite 90s parallels that don't get the recognition of PMGs, Rubies, and other heavy hitters? So this is an appropriate question coming from Brett because he has done a series on parallels. So I was on there also. We talked about Credentials, one of those that is a heavy hitter from the 90s. So really two that stand out to me and amongst the crowd are 99-2000 Top Stadium Club Chrome First Day Issue Refractors. Those are numbered to 25. I've shared the penny that I have in the BGS 10. I love that. I've had a number of other copies. It really all started back when I was a kid on Christmas. My dad got me a Rod Strickland. It being numbered to 25, I thought that was incredible. And at that time, I was really enamored with serial numbered cards and starting to try to grow my knowledge as to how many copies were out there of different serial numbered cards. So I didn't know about PMGs at that time, but was really happy to get that Rod Strickland and started, really dreaming of getting that penny in my collection at one point in time. So the next one that I would also talk about would be, it's really an insert set parallel, but it is the 97-98 Top Stadium Club. Those are the Triumvirate Illuminators, so the third tier. I've made posts about it, videos, I even wrote an article about it in the Basketball Card Fanatics. So there's less than 70 copies of each, a retail exclusive insert parallel, really intricate die cuts, refractors on the Series 2, not on the Series 1. They're die cut on acetate stock. Really great checklist of great stars. You get 2 Jordans in there, Series 1 and Series 2. You get some rookies in series, I could go on and on about that set. There's so much to enjoy. They're so rare. They're so hard to track down. And the pop reports are all kinds of messed up because misidentifying those parallels is very common by all the grading companies. So there's a lot of mystique to those. So those are the two that I would point out that I don't think get as much shine as some of those bigger names, but I think that they're just as incredible for a lot of different reasons. All right, next one coming in from YouTube from Mark Osborne 2663. So he asks, what's your top 3 to 5 90s insert sets? So I could go on and on. When I'm talking about my top, I'm going to go for my favorites. And we're really talking about aesthetics when we talk about my favorites. So in no particular order, we're going to talk about the SPX HoloView Heroes. Those would be from the 97 SPX set. It's a set that it's on the list of things that I want to complete in my collecting career, is completing that set because I love the die cuts. That being the second year of SPX, I think they're really cool looking. Really love that while the rest of the set is on the horizontal plane, those are vertical. I've talked about those plenty. Love the holograms on there as well as the die cuts. We've got the 97-98 EX 2001 Jambalaya. Again, talked a lot about the penny that I've gotten in my collection. It was a dream card as a kid. Love that card. So, those are 2. We've got 3 more that I'm going to go over. So 96-97 EX 2000 Cut Above. Another penny that I dreamt of as a kid. Love the die cuts there. You're going to see a theme here. Love the holo foil on there. Gorgeous cards. 97-98 Fleer Ultra Stars Gold. Another penny that we've talked about that I've gotten to my collection that ever since getting it is one I look at often. So those have to go on there. And then the last one that I put on there that I really have fallen in love with, especially after getting it, is the Hoops 500 volts. Another penny that I picked up in Atlantic City. Those are gorgeous. Another one that I take out and I enjoy the aesthetics of that often. No die cuts on the last 2, but really great holo foil patterns, colored patterns. Lots of eye candy for sure. All right, next one from Instagram, Basketball Card Guy John. As a collector first, as I know you are, from one to another, how do you decide what to let go of when you're doing shows? Obviously, everything you've picked up was for the collection. What makes it, quote unquote, let goable? So love that because it is something that I've had to grapple with. So when I let go of cards, which is I do it very reluctantly. It's because, again, if it's a penny card, I've got a duplicate. I don't let go of penny cards unless I've got a duplicate, with one exception, which we'll get into later. Or it's fringe PC, kind of just outside of my core PC. So, I've started going through and reconciling a lot of my PCs where, if I've got a card from Kevin Garnett and Allen Iverson and Penny all in these same insert set, I might let go of the Iverson and the KG, keep the Penny, of course, but those other two might be expendable, it might be let goable. So stuff that's kind of fringe PC that I don't need for one reason or another, or stuff that I have duplicates of, are things that I will let go of, which I have started doing more and more of recently, just to try to get stuff that, I don't have as much space for the clutter of having multiples of certain cards, and also I can get those funds and get more additions to my PC. So whenever I'm selling a card, it's to get another card, or build up funds to get other cards, like I like to do at the National. So yeah, duplicates, stuff that's not core PC, those would be the answers there for the most part. Next one, also from Instagram, this one from Midlife Card Crisis. So this is a multi-part question. So we've got, have you moved a penny card that you regret? Have you seen Penny play in a game, and why Penny? So let's go through those. Really, let's start from the bottom and work our way up. So why Penny? I've told the story before, so I'll give you the Cliff Notes version here. But growing up in the 90s, the Bulls were really the kings. Michael Jordan was the top of the game. And my brother was a big Bulls fan because of Michael Jordan. So naturally, I wanted to root for somebody different. So I chose to search for somebody else who I thought was also great. And I was watching the Bulls play. I noticed Scottie Pippen was really good. So I was kind of interested in that, but I didn't want to root for the same team. And then I saw a guy on Standard Def TV that looked similar to Scottie Pippen, Penny. They looked similar at that point in time. So when I saw Penny, I was confused, but I thought that maybe Scottie Pippen had been traded. So I was like, okay, I like this team in blue. I loved blue, was my favorite color. So those lined up, and then I saw them playing against each other. I saw Penny giving the business to Jordan. So I said, okay, that's my guy. And I've stuck with him ever since then. I've enjoyed watching his highlights. I've enjoyed watching his career at Orlando. It was really an incredible career to watch. So loved watching him play, but getting into the middle portion of the question, I have never seen him play in person, which is what I assume you're asking. So I've seen him plenty on TV. I've seen plenty of, obviously, reliving some of the highlights and the glories on internet, but never in person was I able to see him play. So it's something that if I could go back in time, that would have been a lot of fun to do. But yeah, like I talked about earlier, I didn't go to a lot of games as a kid, so I would have had to have gone as a kid to see him in his prime for sure. And then the first part of the question, which gets into what John asked, is there's one that stands out, and the only time that I let go of a Penny Hardaway card that I did not have a duplicate of, and that was core PC, which is one that I still am working towards getting back. But that would be the 98-99 Fleer, the Classic 61, numbered 1 of 61 of Penny. So that one I traded at the Chicago National to get the Jambalaya, which at the time was my number 1 PC want. And I was able to get one in a BGS 9, which was really something that I was interested in. It was a half, or still is, it's in the same slab, but a half grade below getting a min gem from BGS. So a lot of stuff there that really checked all the boxes with that Jambalaya. So I was reluctantly willing to let that one go to another Penny collector. So I get that card that was number 1 on my list. So that's the only one, and again, saying that I regret, it's one that, I would do that trade over and over and over again, if I was given the opportunity again to go back in time. But, if I could have kept both cards, I wish I could have been able to do that, but I couldn't. So that's the only one there. All right, next one here, Willie's Cards 101, and he asks, what would be the last card you would get rid of in your collection? So the short answer is, yeah, there wouldn't be a last card because I wouldn't get rid of them if they're in the collection. But, if I had to sit there and think about it, and it would take a lot of thinking, if I had to start going through my PC and start piecing it out, getting rid of cards for any certain reason, which there's a litany of reasons why that could happen, but none that I'm gonna anticipate happening. But the first one that jumps to mind is, it was a gift from my brother, the 93 Finest Refractor in a PSA 9 to pair with the base version in a PSA 9 that my dad had given me years and years ago. So those two kind of together, they're in old PSA slabs. They're the base one was the first graded card I ever got in my collection. So those hold a lot of nostalgia for me. They were also really big chase cards for me as a kid. Those are really foundational penny cards for any penny collection. So those are the first two that jump to mind. I mean, there's a lot of others that have tons of stories, tons of history for me. Like the 98-99 UD Choice StarQuest Gold is another one that's high up there. The 97 game jersey is way up there. The Jambalaya is way up there. The Cut Above is way up there. The Ultra Stars Gold is way up there. So, those are the, first day issue Refractor. All these ones that we've talked about already. Noise Boys is up there. Again, I could keep going on and on. These are ones that if I was in a situation that I had to let go of some cards, those would be very difficult for me to let go of. And honestly, those would be the ones that I'd be holding on to the longest if I had to start getting rid of some PC stuff. Those ones would be the ones I'd be waiting to the end to hopefully not have to let go of. So, again, I could keep going on that list, but I think those two pennies from 93 Finest would be the ones I hold on to for the longest for sure. All right, next one here we have from IG Kyle from Wax Museum. He asks, what do your current Penny Hardaway collection goals look like? At one point, it was mainly Orlando playing day cards with a few other items sprinkled in. Now it seems like you're a lot more receptive to stuff from other teams. So Kyle has been really happy seeing me dip into some more of the 2000 stuff. So yeah, I would say that my core is still the same. I'm still looking for completing that run of penny cards from his playing days in the 90s with the Magic. But yeah, I'm definitely open to even some Panini cards I've gotten. You saw at the National, I got the Kaboom penny. So there are definitely some cards like that I'm starting to get more and more of those, because it's starting to become fewer and farther between to find penny cards from those Orlando playing days that I don't have in my PC, that I also have the budget to obtain. So when I see stuff that's in, the Suns jersey, that first year Suns jersey, like I like to call it the Charles Barkley, that are low numbered or really rare or really aesthetically pleasing, I like grabbing those. There's a few Panini cards that I know are rare, cool looking, that I will keep an eye out for. I have safe searches for. So there's some stuff like that. There are a few Prism cards that I have seen come out in the last few years. Like some of the Prism Blues, when they have a nice picture of Penny when he's in his blue uniform. So I've grabbed some of those. I think it was the 2014 blue that Kyle is actually the one that put me on to, and I got that penny. So, there's stuff like that that hit some of those aesthetics that I like, that are also pretty rare, that I'll grab when I find them. And sometimes it's kind of a matter of getting bored not finding stuff that fits that 90s playing days. So sometimes that's when I start to venture outside. I've even got a Nick shirt on today. I've even gotten some Nick stuff that's numbered. I've got some of his stuff from the Heat, which really he just has that 1 year in 07-08 and Topps Chrome. So I've gotten some of that stuff. So yeah, I've definitely gotten into some of the more obscure but still penny playing days are what I'm more focused on, and definitely the Magic portion of that is still my core. So the core hasn't changed. I just get bored sometimes and venture outside of that sometimes. All right, Instagram, Frankie3500. We all collect for different reasons, and we all have a different end game for our collections. What is the ultimate goal you would like to achieve with your collection? So alluded to it a little bit there with Kyle, but I'll put it in more succinct terms. So my ultimate goal that I would like to achieve is to be able to have one copy of every single card of Penny from his playing days with the Orlando Magic, and any insert sets that he's not in have an example of a player who I have some sort of a draw to, whether it's, there's Allen Iverson or Kevin Garnett are in the insert set, or another player from the Magic, or Michael Jordan, or some other players that I enjoy. I want to have an example of every single insert set, barring any one-of-ones. So those ones I've kind of taken off the list, and if I end up getting some that have some sort of like a one-of-one that are aesthetically pleasing, like a Gem Master, that'd be cool, but those are way, way, way down on the list. One-of-ones are from the 90s are so obscure that it's almost impossible to find. So those have kind of gone off the list, but every single insert set, every single base set, and the parallels from the 90s, I want the penny copy. If there isn't a penny copy, I want another player that piques my interest. So that is the ultimate goal. And really, I've heard some people refer to it as a Mount Everest type of goal. I think it's going to take me a lifetime to achieve that goal, maybe more than a lifetime. So that's what I'm going to keep working towards until I can't anymore for any reason. All right, next, this is another multi-parts. We'll go one at a time for this one. So we've got Michael Glenrice 90s cards on Instagram. So when Fnatic starts exclusively manufacturing basketball cards, will you collect Penny if included in Topps flagship, Stadium Club, Chrome, Finest, etc.? So really great question. This one made me think because I hadn't thought about this before. Honestly, I've just been focusing on kind of what's what's on the checklist still. So I will never say never. It's not something that, again, is going to be core, just like I've done with the Panini stuff. I have gotten some of those into my collection when they hit some of those check marks. So if there are some things that hit the aesthetics that are also, of Penny, then I could see myself getting some of them. It's not something that I'm planning on doing. It's not something I'm really anticipating because there's so many other cards that I still need that aren't new. It's not something I'm going to rule out, but it's not something that's going to be a priority for me. His second part of his question, we have seen 90s set collectors like Spino, Nat Turner, Naz, aggressively attempting to complete high-end sets like Credentials, PMGs, Grand Finales, etc. What is your opinion, excluded in one-of-ones, would be the most difficult 90s set to put together, assuming money is not a barrier? And that last part is key there. So, and this is a set that I've talked about before. I think I've talked about it in every Q&A that we've had. But I think the next most difficult set to put together would be the 99-2000 Topps Stadium Club Chrome first day issue refractors. So outside of the PMG greens and one-of-ones, those are the lowest numbered, the lowest print run parallel set from the 90s. So I think that one would be exceedingly difficult to put together. One thing that is going to help, there's no Jordan in that set. The Kobe goes for a boatload. There's a lot of other great stars. You think of the 90s, outside of Jordan, you've got everybody else. Penny, obviously, Shaq, Iverson, Duncan, Garnett, the list goes on. So I think that would be a very challenging set to put together. It's also a pretty long checklist. So I would love to see somebody put that together. I know some people that are trying to put together the first day issue refractors and just like the regular refractors. So, those are just as beautiful, but they're not as scarce as the number to 25. So I'd love to see somebody try to kind of step it up to that next level, but there might be somebody that I'm not aware of. And if they are, I would love to see, flip through their Flickr or their Instagram page and see it. So shoot me their name if there is somebody I'm not thinking of. All right, also from Instagram, Chris Hoge. So we've got 1996 Flair Showcase basketball cards, has 3 rows. Kobe Bryant is card number 31. In each row, do you prefer one of the rows to the others? Do you consider one to be the quote-unquote true rookie card? And following up on that, do you consider one of the rows to be the true base for veterans? For example, Jordan is also in the set, and he's card number 23 in all 3 rows. So, really great. Flair Showcase is a set that I absolutely adore. And one of the reasons why I loved it is because it was confusing to figure out with all those different rows. And also you had the parallel versions, the legacy versions, and you have the masterpieces. It was something when it first came out, a lot of people were scratching their heads trying to figure out. And myself and my card shop owner were included in that group. So the answer to these are yes. So for me, aesthetically, for 96, I prefer row 0. I think that's gorgeous, and I think that they did it that way intentionally. If you look at the odds, row 0 is the hardest one to get for each of the players. So I think row 1 is also gorgeous. I love that dark aesthetic. When you go into 97, 98, I really love that dark aesthetic that they have in 97, 98. It's row 2 that they put that on. So those are, I think that they're ordered kind of properly. Row 0 is the best, row 1's the next best, and then row 2 is gorgeous as well, but doesn't have as much going for it as the other ones do. For the true rookie for Kobe, I consider that to be row 2. Again, looking at the odds, row 2 is really treated like a base card. It's the one that's easiest. If you look at the back of the packs, the odds look very convoluted, but you really break it down. Row 2 is the base, and then row 1 is a slightly more rare parallel, essentially, and then row 3 is an even more rare parallel or short print. And then you've got the legacy on top of each of those, which for all of those in 96 are all numbered to 150. So the same print run, but again, you see row 0 goes for significantly more when you get into the legacy, even though the print run is the same. So that's what I would consider to be the true rookie, and the same answer for the vets. I would consider row 2 to be kind of the true base. So if you're looking to put that set together, I think row 2 is really the base set, and then the others are kind of short print variants or parallel variants, whatever you want to call it. We could split hairs and figure it out, but I think row 2 is the base, row 0 is the hardest to get and the most aesthetically beautiful. Alright, also from Instagram, we've got Yank's Chick, or Suze as she's known on a lot of other places. In her question, she was joking a little bit, but I'm going to take it seriously. Why is CGC not pictured? So if you saw my post on Instagram, I had, a PSA slab and a BGS slab, and I think it's a good question because for a long time, when I created that graphic, it was many years ago, and BGS and PSA were by far number 1 and 2 in the grading game, and I think that might be different now. We've talked a lot about my feelings on BGS, and I think that, there's a lot to be said for BGS, a lot of positives, but they do not have the luster that they once had. So, CGC, I've had submissions with them. I love the slabs. I like a lot of the people that work there. So, I think that I might need to update that graphic, and CGC might need to make an entrance. SGC also has a place in there. So maybe I need to have 4 on there to really make it a more inclusive group. But, yeah. I think that that's a valid question, even though I know she was meaning it tongue-in-cheek. Alright, we've got mostly 90s basketball cards on Instagram. I find my preference or desire for good condition and or grades varies greatly depending on the set. We all know we're generally not chasing gem mint cards, but what are some sets where you value a card in good condition more than most? And I think that's a really important question because, like he says, and if you don't know this about me, here we go. I don't prefer graded cards in my collection. Now, I have plenty in my collection that are graded, and there are certain reasons why I do want certain cards in slabs, and also a lot of times the cards that I'm going after, they just happen to be graded. I'm going to leave them slabbed. I'm not going to crack them out. I know some people prefer cracking them out, and to each his own, but I leave them the way that they are unless I'm going to, put them in a different slab, or if I, don't care to have it in a slab for whatever reason. But there are certain times that I do prefer it, especially when authenticity is an issue. I like to have it slabbed so I know that it's authentic. But there are two, when I was thinking about this, when I saw the question, I had to really rack my brain. There are 2 insert sets that I came up with that I would prefer a higher graded or a better condition copy. So the first thing is, and this is not an insert set, this is just kind of across the board, if I have a copy of a card and there is an obvious condition issue, a glaring issue, I have no problem replacing that with a better looking copy. So you can talk about the Baron Davis Star Rubies. Now, I'm not going to replace that because of the nostalgia, but getting a better condition copy in my collection of that Ruby or another one from that same year is something that I'd like to do because of the paper loss and the damage on the card. So, if there's anything in my collection that has significant damage that is aesthetically impacting the card, I might look to replace that or upgrade it, as some may call it. But the 2 insert sets that I think for myself, having a graded copy and, getting a higher graded copy if possible is warranted would be 93-94 Scoring Kings. So I've got a Jordan and a PSA 7, but that's a, card that it's rarer than some, but there's no shortage of Scoring Kings out there, and they are very condition sensitive. So I think that the importance and the high price put on those higher graded copies makes perfect sense. You can really see how quickly there's a nosedive on the pop reports when you start getting to the 9s, and especially the 10s, especially the Jordans. So overall, there's plenty of graded copies, of the Jordan, for example, Scoring Kings from 93, but there are not very many in 9s and 10s when you compare it to the whole population. The other set that I put into that category is the 97 Upper Deck Holo Jam. So we've, opened some of those. We saw how those were kind of just rattling around. It was in retail settings like Walmart. So those cards typically don't grade well. And for example, the last I looked anyway for Allen Iverson, none of those that have been graded by PSA have gotten above an 8. So just imagine if you were looking at a Panini card and there were all these cards getting graded from that set and none of them were getting above an 8, people would be freaking out. So, that's a set that when I see a copy that's in a 9 or a 10 and I see it go for multiples of what a raw copy would go for, it makes perfect sense to me. So those are the 2 that came to mind. There could be others that I'm not thinking of, but again, I don't prefer graded just in a certain subset. Alright, and I think this is going to be the last one we have time for. So this is going to be from Cage Lawyer, Hobby with Cage, as you may know him on Instagram and on YouTube and podcasts and all that. So he asks, is the Jordan market manipulated, or do people really want all these random inserts for all that money? And you know me, typically I'm not going to go into the market questions, but it being Cage, I wanted to give this a little bit of airtime. And, you know, I think Jordan is Jordan. You know, when we talk about somebody who's the best at their, you know, respective career path or industry, we talk about the Michael Jordan of sales, the Michael Jordan of, you know, insert career here. So, you know, I think Michael Jordan is kind of that standard of excellence. And a lot of people also look at him as kind of the GOAT of GOATs. You know, when you think about the best player in football, there are some arguments. When you think about the best player in baseball, there are some arguments. When you talk about the best player in basketball, it really comes down to Jordan and LeBron. And I think the majority of people are like, well, we can have two. But Jordan's always going to be there. So I think for that reason, Jordan has some staying power. That coupled with the fact that most of his most prominent cards come from the 90s, an era that is so nostalgic and aesthetically pleasing and has scarcity to go along with it, and condition was also a thing. So when you have highly graded cards that are highly sought after of a player, that are aesthetically pleasing and very scarce, it's a perfect combination for cards to go, you know, parabolic. So, you know, I think that a lot of these cards are legitimate. I think there is a lot of attention to his stuff since the pandemic, since, you know, that iconic PMG green sold, you know, what was it, 4 years ago now that we had that live stream, watching that sell on eBay through PWCC. So, you know, a lot of those things have kept Michael Jordan in people's forefront. You know, Jordan shoes are as popular as ever, so a lot of younger people are also familiar with Michael Jordan and have some, you know, affinity towards him and his playing career. So, yeah, I think the Jordan market is legit. I think it's a place that if you're looking to save some money, the Jordan market might not be the one for you. There might be other players to look for if you're trying to collect on a budget. But there are Jordan cards that are great looking that aren't going to break the bank as well. So, you know, it's not like you need to stay out completely. Just, you got to, you know, temper your expectations in that market, I think, because I think those collectors, a lot of the people in that space have heavy bankrolls and they're willing to spend it on the player that they love. So that's what we've got today for the questions. Thank you for everybody who submitted them. Sorry if I didn't get to yours. If I missed it and you would like an answer, please shoot me a DM. I'd be happy to answer it, but there, I'm sure, are some that I missed. So if you're new here, please consider subscribing. Hit that bell icon so you don't miss any videos in the future. New videos dropping once, sometimes twice a week. We've got looks into my PC, occasional collector interviews, 90s pack openings, occasional grading reveals, occasional show reviews, and so much more. Thanks. We'll talk later.